So let's talk about how to develop a healthy self-perception. Well, sometimes that's not a simple fix, right? If you are an inhibited, shy, passive person, this is likely ingrained in your personality and thus dictate many of your behaviors. But if you want to become more assertive, you need to be willing to be uncomfortable. If you want to build muscle, you need to endure the discomfort of weight training. If you want to become faster, you need to endure the discomfort of sprinting and speed training. If you want to hold your breath for longer, you need to endure breath training. If you want to learn a new language, you learn to hit a baseball, you learn to play the guitar, you need to endure the training. You need to learn and practice. Same here. No! No! For example, I always admire the great artists from history, but I had no natural talent for it. I couldn't paint a wall, let alone create art. So I studied the techniques, practiced every day for 7 months, and then I created an awesome masterpiece. Check it out. Look at it. It's amazing. Damn, I'm good. I mean, my early paintings all wound up in the garbage, but this, my piece de résistance, is actually hanging on public display right now as we speak. It's on my refrigerator. But I do make all my friends stare at it when they visit. And I've emailed the Louvre to see if they're interested, so we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. Point being, we're going to identify some techniques to improve your skills. And with practice, you should get pretty good with these techniques and these approaches. But for those techniques to work, you will likely also have to change your mindset a bit. For example, I could tell you that if you want to appear more confident, you should stand up straight and make eye contact. But if you're someone that feels intimidated or inferior, you might find that challenging. Right? Making eye contact sounds easy, but for a lot of people, it's not easy at all. It's very difficult. So in addition to the techniques that we discuss, you also want to begin working on your frame of mind so that you can mentally prepare for being assertive. Easier said than done, I know. But we just wanted to cover a few statements that you can, ideally, begin to embrace that hopefully will help you get into the right mindset. You may or may not believe in repeating mantras, like I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me.
I'm going to do a terrific show today, and I'm going to help people because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Regardless, you need to begin subscribing to certain beliefs if you are going to make this work, if you're going to become more assertive. Again, being assertive is part technique, but also part attitude. And by attitude, I simply mean how you see yourself and how you engage with the world. Confidence is a big part of being assertive. So whether you believe that these statements are true about yourself or not, it doesn't really matter. Proceed in life as if they're true. Fake it till you make it, right? So these statements, mantras, affirmations, whatever you want to call them, read through them whenever you need a confidence boost or when you need to prepare for a situation where you will need to be assertive, just so you can help put yourself into the ideal frame of mind. And just in case you're someone that doesn't believe in using affirmations, you don't think it's effective, this has been supported by numerous scientific studies. A paper published in the Scientific Library of Science journal reported that self-affirmations helped people maintain a level of competence, positivity, and self-assurance even when in a hostile environment. Another study, published in the Journal of Social, Cognitive, and Affective Neuroscience, yep, that's a lot of big words, shows that self-affirmations help people maintain effective problem-solving skills and creativity even during times of stress. So you might say, well, what does all this have to do with being assertive? A lot. When you are asserting yourself, in that moment, not only do you need to maintain confidence, you also need to maintain a level head. You have to be able to think clearly because you're dealing with other people. A lot of times, communication is a chess game, especially if other people are addressing you in a hostile manner. You need to have the capability to remain calm and assertive and prevent yourself from escalating into aggression, if that's what your natural response would otherwise be, or falling into passivity, if that's what your natural response would otherwise be. So what these studies show is that if you want to train yourself to think or behave in different ways, you can do it. That doesn't mean that saying nice things to yourself and whispering sweet nothings in your own ear is going to immediately make you Captain Confident, right? You're not casting some sort of witch's spell. You're not repeating these statements over a boiling cauldron of lizard foot, eye of newt, add some pepper for taste, right? It's not magic. But they are tenets or ideas that you can begin to embrace, which in turn may help you better apply the techniques that will make you more assertive.
Actually, it's time for my daily positive affirmations, if you'll just excuse me for 1 second. Hey, you. You are a snappy dresser. Don't let the haters bring you down. They're just jealous of your fancy scarf. And you're a good cook. Your beef stew does not taste like dirty mop water. People just needed to add more salt. There are people starving in the world. They were just ungrateful. That's fine. You'll never cook for your parents again. And above all else, you do have a lovely, attractive, masculine scent. You do not smell like sweaty paprika, no matter what your idiot coworkers say. They suck. You rule. Who loves you? Okay, sorry about that. It's important. Okay, now, it's also important for you to reaffirm your beliefs sometimes. And if you want to be assertive, here are some statements that you should try to embrace and work on believing as best you can. Number 1, I alone have the power over my emotions, thoughts, behavior, and decisions. I choose how I will react. Others may influence them, but I have final say. I mean, there's nothing to believe here. This is rooted in truth. As former First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt once said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. I mean, yeah, it is easier said than done, of course. All of this is. Being assertive, if you are innately passive or aggressive, is easier said than done too. But that's why we're here, right? So understanding that other people's responses to you, positive or negative, should just be seen as a stimulus. Okay, you can build up your immunity to it, kind of like developing a callus. You do this through practice. Now, we'll talk more about that shortly. Number 2, others may disagree or disapprove with your decisions, but it is up to you to accept this, disregard it, or negotiate. Now, this rule, of course, is meant to help you empower yourself. You cannot control how others feel. You can try to influence it, but you cannot control it. And at the end of the day, you decide whether you want to take what they say to heart or not. You decide whether you want to be complimented or offended by people. I know it's a very rational way to view things, and fear and sadness and anger are all emotions which are hard to govern, hard to control. So I'm not saying you need to be good at this now. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm just saying you need to be aware of it. And if you say it's impossible, it's not. Listen, imagine a beautiful woman goes to a bar and, there he goes. Look at him over on the other side of the bar. It's Captain Fugly.
Hey, it's me, Captain Fugly.
Oh, and Captain Fugly sees this beautiful woman and oh goodness, isn't she lucky? Here he comes. Captain Fugly's coming over. Do you not think that she can quite assertively disregard the compliments that he offers her? Even if she's shy. The compliments won't do anything to her. She has to accept those compliments if he's sitting there saying nice things to her. Or she can disregard them if they mean nothing to her. You can do the same thing for insults as well. Anytime someone criticizes you, you decide whether or not you believe in it and you agree with it, if you accept it. So anytime you have some sort of conflict, there is a decision that you essentially make. You have final control. Now, this ties into being assertive because you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to be okay with others not liking your decisions, maybe criticizing your decisions. It's understandable if you are the type of person who likes to be a people pleaser and you want everybody to like you. To a degree, we're all like that. We all, to one extent or another, want to be liked by others. But when you're being assertive, you can't overly concern yourself with whether or not people will dislike your ideas. Now, that doesn't mean you're trying to come across as dislikable, but that's why when you're being assertive, you're also being respectful. You're not being aggressive. Aggressive is a very dislikable trait to a lot of people. Assertive is respectful. So even if people don't like your idea, they shouldn't then apply that to you and start disliking you. So that shouldn't be your fear. Granted, not everybody will agree with your ideas. Not everybody will support or approve of them. But being assertive is being brave enough to articulate and communicate these ideas, regardless of whether or not you think they'll be popular. And if somebody insults these ideas, you have to be okay with that. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them. It doesn't mean you have to like it. But what it does mean is you have to expect that that could happen. At some point, it likely will happen, and you have to be willing to accept that. And ideally, not internalize it or overly emotionalize it. Think about it in these terms. Imagine you want to go out to an Italian restaurant for dinner, but your friend wants to go out to a French restaurant. Let's say your friend is more persuasive and everybody agrees to go to the French restaurant. You might not like that idea, but that doesn't mean you're going to start disliking your friend just because they wanted to go to the French restaurant. So you have to be able to separate your ideas from yourself, and you have to hope and respect that other people can do the same. Just because they don't like your ideas doesn't mean that they won't like you. And if they insult your ideas, it doesn't mean they're insulting you. Or, even if they insult you, you basically have final say as to whether or not you're going to accept those things as insults or simply dismiss them. At the end of the day, you can't please everybody, even if you want to be a people pleaser. So, it might behoove you to better be a people respecter and a self-pleaser. That sounds wrong, but I think you get the drift. Number 3, you are responsible for solving your own problems, and you choose whether or not you want to help others solve theirs. Even if your actions cause problems for them indirectly, it's still up to them, the other people, to address those issues for themselves. Again, this is empowerment. You are responsible for your own success and happiness. Yes, the world is unfair, and it will not always give you what you deserve. But you cannot play the game of life expecting that it will. The game is rigged sometimes. The game is lopsided other times. The game has no clear directions at any times. So all you can control are your turns, so to speak. Your decisions, your actions. If you face a problem, you need to figure out your solution. And it's okay to ask for help from others, of course. But unfortunately, for the most part, you can't expect other people to fix your problems for you. Even when you're talking about people close to you, family, friends, loved ones, you can't expect them to solve your problems. You can hope that they'll be there to help you through them, but you can't expect them to fix it for you. It's like the old quote, I can't fix all your problems, but I can promise you won't have to face them alone. So if you have a good team, a good family, a good social circle, yes, you will hopefully ideally have support, but you can't expect others to fix problems you face in life for you. Just like others can't expect you to do it for them. At the end of the day, you are responsible for yourself. Others are responsible for themselves. So if, for example, there is one piece of cake left and your mouth is watering, just thinking about its chocolatey goodness. It's got the cherry on it, got the whipped cream, got a little bit of the crack sprinkled on top. Wait, what? Point is, if you want the cake, you cannot just forego that you want the cake just because you worry about who else may want the cake. That would be passive. But you also don't want to greedily grab for it yourself because that would be aggressive. Assertive would be making it clear that you would like it, but may be willing to share it with anyone else who's interested. Right? Maybe cut it into smaller pieces or whatever. That is showing respect for others, but also making it clear what you want. All right, now the onus is on them to speak up for themselves if they also want a piece of this cake. All right, they now must be assertive and assert themselves if they want a piece of the cake. You can't worry about whether or not they want it. You're offering. Now they have to be the ones to speak up.
You asserted yourself. You let people know that you want the cake. That's all you had to do. If nobody else speaks up, then you get the cake all to yourself. All because you asserted yourself.
Number 4, you can change your mind. Nothing is rigid or constant, so you should be able to change your mind if you feel you should do so. Now, this is a bit dangerous because there is a certain level of responsibility that comes with commitments. All right, if you are always changing your mind, you can come across as a bit wishy-washy or unreliable, depending on the situation. If you always promise to take your kid to the ball game and you've changed your mind 10 times, you may be making a bad impression because you are creating a pattern. But with that said, you do have the right to change your mind. Changing your mind does not mean you are being wishy-washy or unreliable. I mean, that usually comes when you do it habitually at inappropriate times. And plus, they also have nothing to do with being assertive. Even if you are wishy-washy, it doesn't really matter. You can still be assertive about changing your mind. Being able to assert yourself and having a feeling of obligation are completely separate ideas. Obligation plays a role in your decision to do or not do something. But once you decide to do it or not do it, once you decide you want or do not want something, that is where assertiveness comes into play. Assertiveness is what helps you stick to your guns. Or, in my case, stick to my honey buns. I literally stick to them. They're so filled with sugar, but damn it if I don't love them.
If there was a Honey Buns Anonymous, I'd probably have to join, but probably only so I could meet other people who are trying to quit eating honey buns.
And then offer to take whatever honey buns they have left. And then I eat them. All. Like a grazing cow. But, I digress. My point is, you have every right to change your mind. So if you decide you want to change your mind about something, you don't need to feel like you don't have the opportunity to do so. Okay, freedom of choice is your prerogative, same as it is everyone else's. Number 5, you can admit that you don't know something. Okay, you can admit that you do not understand something. This is the other side of confidence that people often do not think of. The image that a lot of people have of confidence is often someone who is knowledgeable and well-versed in whatever they do.
But confident people can also openly and unequivocally state when they don't know something. And you might ask, well, what does all this have to do with being assertive?
Well, simple. You may be asked to do something that you do not understand or know how to do.
And when some people are in a situation where they're asked about something that they don't understand, some people will pretend like they understand, or even worse, agree to do something that they don't understand. And they'll do this simply because they're afraid of looking stupid, or they're afraid of disappointing the person asking. So they'll create this huge burden for themselves that they could have completely avoided if they had the confidence to simply say, hey, thanks for including me, but
I don't know anything about that. No one is an expert in everything, and even experts don't always know everything. I mean, which would you prefer? Going to a doctor that says, honestly, I have no idea what you have, so I want to send you to a specialist. Or a doctor that has no idea what you have, but is afraid of looking dumb or hurting his or her ego, so they run endless tests and try endless meds on you just to fix a problem that they clearly aren't qualified to treat. I mean, I trust you'd prefer the doctor who admits that they don't know. And that doctor is being the better doctor, because he or she can assert their determination that you need a different doctor. Again, you see, a lot of assertiveness comes from comfort and confidence, right? Not from knowledge. Comfort and confidence. Number 6, you can make mistakes. Same idea here. Everybody makes mistakes. Be comfortable admitting when you make mistakes. This gives you better self-awareness of your skills. It'll give you better standing amongst people in your life because it builds trust. It shows humility. And this all aids you in feeling more comfortable with being assertive because you're not trying to impress anybody. You're being more realistic with your potential. Number 7, you can be independent and you do not need approval from others for all of the decisions that you make. Otherwise, you're going to leave yourself open for manipulation. Relationships do not require 100% approval. Disagreements are inevitable. Again, chasing perfection is a pipe dream. Understand that what you want isn't what everyone else will always want. You will ideally all try to seek compromise, but it's your job to assert what you want. Compromise comes when you assert what you want, others assert what they want, and people come to the table to find an acceptable middle ground. The only job you have in cases like this is for you to advocate for yourself, for what you want, but also listen respectfully to what others want. Making concessions and giving them part of what they want is simply a strategic way to help you get at least some of what you want. Number 8, you can admit that you do not care. You do not need to say it so dismissively, but if you are disengaged by something, it's often better to put it forth than to pretend. Right? The more earnest you are, the easier being assertive will be, but also the more others will expect assertiveness from you, which in turn will then make being assertive even easier because then it becomes part of your personality. People expect it from you, so it's not a big deal anymore. Number 9, you can say no. Now, this is big. So many people feel pressured into saying yes to things that they don't want to be a part of just because they fear disappointing others. Now, this sort of thinking is often programmed into us as kids when we're taught to be nice to others, right? If grandma offers you a disgusting cookie, you're supposed to take it and thank her. If your friend buys you an ugly shirt for your birthday, you're supposed to thank her and wear it. Yeah, these behaviors do have their role in society. They're not inherently bad, but sometimes we do stuff to make loved ones happy, right? So there's a purpose to that. But it's often not only loved ones you have to be assertive with. A lot of times it's colleagues or coworkers. And coworkers are usually not loved ones. Unless you're married to the secretary or you're obsessed with the security guard or something. Nor are classmates or peers. And even if they are, sometimes you have to choose to be assertive over saccharine. Right? Having good manners and being nice has nothing to do with never saying no. Okay? You could be nice, you could be happy, you can be personable, and still say no to people. You can still love grandma and not take her cookie. The cookie doesn't need to take on some bigger meaning. Right? If you don't take grandma's cookie, it doesn't mean you don't love grandma. It simply means you don't want her cookie. Same with anything. Right? Same for your friendships. If you don't do something that your friends want you to do, that doesn't mean you don't like them as friends or you don't value them. It simply means you're not interested in doing whatever they asked you to do. And even if your boss asks you to do something that you're uncomfortable with, you don't owe it to him or her to do it if you feel like it's a bad idea. Again, being assertive is about doing what you think is right, doing what you want to do, and being comfortable expressing that so that other people acknowledge it and recognize it. So, as you look at this list of affirmations, what this is designed to do is to get you to reflect upon your own behaviors. If you look at this list, you might say, well, yeah, duh, to all of these. You might say, of course, all of these are true. But just because you acknowledge them doesn't mean you implement them. And if you want to be assertive, understanding these and abiding by these tenets, these rules, these guidelines, will better help you be assertive because it will help you remove any social pressure or situational pressure that you feel in the moment where you need to be assertive. When the time comes for you to be assertive, if you adopt these beliefs,
then you won't get bogged down with any of those sorts of pressures. And you can focus specifically on asserting and expressing whatever it is you want from people.
But as you do it, please be aware of any doubt or negativity in your thoughts. If you're trying to change your persona a bit and become more assertive, then when you're talking to yourself, you don't want the thoughts to be negative because that builds a limiting, self-defeating self-perception. Talk to yourself in an empowering way. Instead of I can't, say I can.
Or I could.
If I do this and I do that and I do the other thing. Okay, so notice, you're not saying you can't do something, you're saying you can, but perhaps you're not ready for it because there's certain steps you need to commit to doing first. Believe that you deserve respect and that you are as important as anybody else, because you are. Believe that you have the right to express yourself. Believe that you have rights, and one of those rights is to stand up for yourself. Believe that you can find comfort asking for what you want or need and saying no to what you don't. You have to commit to not allowing others to destabilize, discourage, or intimidate you.
For the average person, becoming assertive takes time, practice, patience, and commitment. And without that, it's unlikely you're going to become assertive, especially if you find yourself to be very passive or to be overly aggressive. You have to retrain your behaviors and often change your mindset. Without doing that, there is no other way to become assertive. I mean, there's no magic pill. Sure, you could try crunch berries. I mean, who knows? Maybe tossing a handful of crunch berries into your mouth will instantly make you more assertive. Perhaps they'll bury your insecurities. But if it were that easy, you wouldn't be sitting here listening to this, now would you? I mean, from what I understand, crunch berries aren't even a real fruit. So, with those off the table, then yeah, I guess you're going to have to commit to working at it.
To get comfortable being assertive, you need to start being assertive, all right? To get comfortable riding a bike, you got to ride a bike. But before you do that, you have to get yourself into the right mindset. You must commit to finding comfort in the uncomfortable. Just like going to the gym and trying a new exercise. You got to feel the burn. Don't hurt yourself, but find comfort in the discomfort. Okay? Wear a wacky shirt to the supermarket and embrace how they stare at you. Embrace that discomfort. Find strength in yourself, divorced from what you feel others want from you. All right? Now, are you ready for this? I trust that you are. So here we go.